announcing our next presentation. This will be a 20-minute session. Then we will have Q&A, so get that chat going and get your questions going forward. This is Fresno State, one of our outstanding programs. We have several. I don't want to steal from them, but they have been acknowledged in so many different ways for the work that they've done and the evidence that they've gathered on the impact on their students. I want to go ahead and turn it over to Maiku Vang, who was the SI coordinator, is now interim director of the Learning Center, and now Ko Yang is the SI interim coordinator. And they're going to talk about their program, in particular the results that they've been able to analyze locally and share beyond. So I'll turn it over now.
All right, so before we begin dissecting the data piece of our presentation, I want to go ahead and take a moment to just share some program highlights here at Fresno State. SI was implemented in the early 2000s, so we've come quite a long way. So I'm proud to share that we are the first CSU to be certified by the International Center for SI. And just in 2016, about 2 years ago at the SI International Conference, we were awarded several awards. We were awarded the Outstanding SI Program, SI Mentor, SI Leader, and we also had an honorable mention for Outstanding Research and Publication Award. Following that, through NASPA, we were the gold recipient for the Careers Academic Advising and Support Related category due to our evidence-based practices being able to really demonstrate and showcase that SI does help close achievement gaps, raise graduation rates, and really promoting student success here. So we were able to obtain that award. Lastly, through NACADA, because being part of the Learning Center and being part of the rotational internship itself, our team received the Excellence in Advising Innovation Award. So we're so proud of our accomplishments. We want to strive to further promote SI across our campus here at Fresno State.
Next slide, please. Okay, so as Ko mentioned, SI on our campus has started a while back since fall of 2000, and it wasn't until the last 5 to 6 years when we truly were able to grow or expand because of the evidence behind the data. And we were able to use data to really share and tell our stories or showcase that SI is one of the predictors to student success. So as you can see here in the data, last academic year, we provided support for 95 courses. This semester, about 135 courses, and we are projecting to provide support for 160 courses next semester. Here on campus, I consider SI as an expensive program. Because it costs roughly about $2,900 to provide support for one SI leader per one course. However, when you take a look at the potential of students that SI can impact, which is basically the total student enrollment, to the cost to support the SI courses based on the student cost, staff costs, it costs roughly only $44 to provide support for one student. So in a nutshell, I believe that that investment is really great when it comes to really helping students in terms of student success and impact. Next slide, please. This is the snapshot of the impact of course in regards to last academic year SI participation rates. So again, SI provided support for 95 courses during that academic year, and we hired 103 SI leaders with 7 SI mentors. There were a little over 11,000 students that were enrolled in those 95 courses, and we had a little over 5,000 students attended SI. That's equivalent to 48% participation rate. And those 5,000 plus students actually attended SI for over 29,000 times during that academic year. So it really shows us that SI is working. Students are liking at what they see in those SI sessions.
Next slide, please. So now that Maiku talked about the impact of SI on participants, I'm going to go ahead and talk about impact on those 95 SI courses this past academic year. So from this graph, you can see that there is a trend showing that as students continue to come to SI, their mean final grade definitely improves. So as you can see, our increments here at Fresno State goes from 0 visits, 1 to 7 visits, 8 to 15 visits, and then 16 or more visits. So the golden number here at Fresno State is 16, and the reason is because based on the data that we've been able to collect, we are able to see that Students who come 16 times or more have the most significant impact. So numbers and increments changes per institution. So we cannot speak on everybody else's program, but specifically for our institution, 16 is the golden number. And I think a lot of times when people see the number 16, they're a little bit overwhelmed. They think, wow, 16 is quite a large number. But here at Fresno State, the way our semester works, it's broken down into 16 weeks. So when you think about it, it's actually going to SI once a week. And oftentimes, student, per class, per unit that they're taking, they're supposed to be studying 2 hours anyways. So when you think about it, you're dedicating about a good hour and a half to attend SI. And if students continuously attend 16 or more times, our data shows that students can earn a higher grade at the end of the semester. So essentially, this graph paints a picture that more attendance means better grade. Next slide, please. So now that I talked about mean final grade, I want to go ahead and look at course passing rate, because that's important too. Here at Fresno State, our program, we strive a lot to make sure that our sessions are based on quality, making sure that students who are coming in are benefiting, content is being reinforced appropriately, and that students are learning something from these sessions. Because again, because we follow that UMKC model, everything's voluntary. So our students' time is very, very precious to us too. So from this graph, you can see, again, increments in visits are the same, but again, similar to mean final grade, course passing rate, students who continuously attend SI 16 or more times had a higher passing rate. So here you can see students, 93% of them passed the course that they were enrolled in while being in SI, versus their peers who never utilized SI had a 72% passing rate. So from these two graphs, whether we're looking at course mean grade and also passing rate, again, it tells the story. Students who utilize SI has the chance to earn a better grade and to pass the course. Next slide, please.
Okay, so we also did a longitudinal 5-year research study back in 2011, basically 2011 to 2014, on a little bit over 16,000 undergraduate students enrolled in those 22 courses that were offered with SI. And basically what we're looking for was looking at the impact on SI, specifically with students with the following factors or characteristics: underrepresented minorities, students, first-gen, Pell eligible, and remediation status. These are factors considered as indicators that can either impact the success of students when they enter in higher education. So also known as the disadvantage factors. So what we did was we compile a composite skill called the disadvantage index. And the way how this works is if a student falls or does not have any of those characteristics, then they'll fall into the category of 0 DI. And if they have 1, then they'll fall into the 1 DI, and so forth into the 4 DI. And what we found was that students who came into SI, or students that used the SI service, we had about 50% of those students actually falls into the 3 or 4 DI category. Next factor, next please. So data, what I want to bring your attention to is those GPA at the start of where it says SI visits, 0 visits. As you can see here immediately, for all of these students with different categories of DI, if they do not go to SI, that's their starting GPA. And as we continue to follow the data, the more the students attend SI, the better, or the performance gap between all of those students in all the different various category, the grades close. And even at the 16 visits, as you can see, it slowly narrows and closes at that particular category. So that's why I keep on saying that the 16 visits, that's what works for us, and that's what we try to push the students to go. Go to SI at least once a week, because we know that the data is showing that it works. So basically, in the nutshell, SI really does help all students, but it also helps students that really does need SI the most, and it really helps level the playing field for students of disadvantaged background.
Next slide, please. All right, so now let's talk about increasing graduation. So we were able to see that SI at Fresno State helps students earn a better grade, pass the course. And as Maiku just mentioned about that recent study, SI really helping close the achievement gap for our students here. So now our team, kept asking ourselves, okay, well, does SI help students move towards graduation? I mean, we understand SI is not the only reason that helps students graduate, but is it a predictor? So with that question in mind, we really dissected our data, really working with our Office of Institutional Effectiveness, really looking to see, okay, is SI a predictor? So looking at our 2011-2012 first-time full-time freshman cohort, specifically the four-year graduation rate, based on this graph, you can see that students, if at any point utilized SI, there was a 21% graduation rate in comparison to peers who never utilized, which they were at a 14%. For the campus as a whole, there was a 15% graduation rate. And during this academic year, we were serving 14 courses with a little over 2,800 students. So based on this graph, it does tell us that, yeah, SI truly helps students move towards graduation. It is one of the predictors. So next slide, please. So again, following the same cohort, 14 classes, a little over 2,800 students, and now looking at the 6-year graduation rate, again, it depicts a very similar story too, along with the 4-year graduation rate. So you can see students if at any point utilized SI, there was a 64% graduation rate compared to peers who never utilized SI. They were at a 47%, and campus as a whole was at a 48%. So looking at all our data, we're able to see that, wow, SI truly works on our campus. I think a lot of time that drives the funding as well, like what Maiku was mentioning at the very beginning. Here at Fresno State, I think a lot of institutions can relate to this. It's very data-driven. Decisions are based on if your program can tell a story. So because our program is effective and is driven on quality, that helps support us to get funding from both our academic affairs and division of student affairs as well. And like what Maiku said, SI helps because it evens the playing field for all students, whether you have certain disadvantages or whether you do not. So based on our data in a snapshot, here at Fresno State, SI truly works. SI truly helps students move towards graduation, earn better grades, and pass the course, and of course, closing the achievement gap as well. Next slide, please.
Okay, so that concludes our part of the presentation. Maybe we have a few questions, minutes for questions.
Great, thank you so much for sharing that with our wide audience. So a question that just came in that I'd like to get you to answer first is regarding a definition. And the question is, so at any point utilizing SI, does that mean attending at least once?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you clarify a little bit more about, like, if somebody just comes into a session for 2 minutes versus somebody staying for a full session?
All right, so with that, our SI leaders are trained to, of course, as students come in, you get the most benefit when you stay for the bulk of the session. And we understand that students, sometimes the schedule doesn't fit their own personal schedule to sit fully, but the bulk of the work, the bulk of the success comes when a student stays. For example, if a student just quickly comes in, tries to check in and just take a worksheet, they're not going to benefit because the collaborative learning, the group work, everything, the study skills, all of that is embedded in the session. So we train our leaders to, if students, in order to sign them in order to take attendance, they have to be able to stay for the bulk, if not the full session. So that's how we're able to count the visits. Because we've seen it where if they just quickly check in students who just come in, grab the materials, grab a worksheet and take off, that can skew data as well. We conduct great comparison reports here too, and students who, if the leader is checking in that student, but the student doesn't stay and the student doesn't fully grasp what was done in SI, but they go take that exam and they don't do well, you check in that student. So now that skews your data. Now that's telling us like, wow, how come SI is not helping students do better on the exams or do better in the course? So we train our leaders to specifically make sure you take attendance. However, check in students towards the students who actually stay for the bulk, if not the full session.
Great. And a follow-up question, someone just asked if there's a specific software program that you use, just while you're talking about the attendance piece.
Yes, we do. Here at Fresno State, we utilize Grades First. So that is the platform that we use to take attendance, as well as run attendance reports too.
Awesome. So I have a complicated question now, and I know that our colleagues from San Bernardino are going to answer part of it later on. So there is a question from one of our colleagues about how it is that the SI program grew on your campus and how it is that you were able to make the case to establish stable funding and what operational budgets look like and those pieces. So I know that that's a big question and that can go on for a long time. I also know that San Bernardino will help answer a big part of that later. So I was wondering if you could confine your response to that to how it is that you've utilized some of the data that you shared here today to establish institutional support and resources on your campus.
For that, I like to ask my colleague, Maiku, to step in. She's been in the coordinator role for SI for several years, longer than I have. So I want to make sure she shares her expertise in this field.
So we can definitely go into more details later on if you want to, know a little bit more of the details of that. But I do want to share that keeping really good record of data, that's what has helped us in terms of gathering that support from the campus and helping us collecting those permanent fundings. So our initial permanent fundings actually through the Chancellor's office, and that was through the very first time that we actually gathered all of our data and showing the effectiveness of SI on our campus. And then as we're able to take that funding and able to grow a few courses and add a few more SI leaders, the data in itself then continues to showcase the effectiveness of the program. And then that then brought on board also our academic affair and folks of administrator as well too. So just basically collecting data and continuing to showcase and share the stories, and then applying for different kinds of available funds out there. The last initial permitted funding that we received was through our student affairs side, which is part of the student success initiatives. So we're able to show, again, prove and showcase and share our student success stories, and that's how we're able to gain that large part of funding to really help grow and sustain the program to that 160 courses for this upcoming year. Great, thank you so much. That's really helpful. So the next follow-up question related to the several that have already been asked: do students earn academic credit for attending your SI sessions?
Not here at Fresno State. So again, we truly emulate the UMKC model. So here, SI is all voluntary. Attendance is anonymous. The faculty do not gain any access to attendance until the end of the semester when grades are finally posted. And it's all peer-led. Our students leading students, and everything is collaborative learning here. So no one earns any extra credit here, which is why we really train our SI leaders to refine and enhance the study session, so that way students are really gaining a much higher level of understanding, and that their time is being well spent. And I want to go back to your question, Zach. I think what you're saying is academic credit, right? So in terms of linking onto the course and getting a unit for actually having SI in that course, and we don't follow that model, so it's not attached to a unit credit.
Great, thank you. So next question, and this is, I feel like, an important one for lots of folks. How many SI sessions are offered per semester, per week? And rather than answer that, for your whole program, let's take an individual course, like a typical chemistry or biology course. How many SI sections are offered per week?
So for sessions, typically per SI leader, they host 2 sessions. They're about 1 hour and 30 minutes long, along with 2 office hours too, and again, 1 hour and 30 minutes. So for the bulk of it, a lot of our SI leaders, that's typically their session and office hour schedule.
So total 4 opportunities per week, times that by 16 weeks, you're looking at how many? I'm not really good with math.
We need an SI leader in here to crunch those numbers for us.
Yes. So roughly about 4 opportunities per week for 16 weeks. And we do offer additional what we call power session as well too, as we are getting closer to midterms or exams. But normally it's always around 4 total opportunities per week.
Yeah, great, thank you. We had a question that just came in that I know is on everyone's mind about supplemental instruction and mathematics, given the recent changes mandated by the state. I was wondering if you could comment on that. I know that a lot of the data that you had was aggregated together from different courses, and if you could comment on the relative effectiveness that you found of supplemental instruction, especially for mathematics.
Do you want to take on that one, or? Okay, so we actually, we in the past, we don't provide SI support in remedial courses. We haven't done that on our campus. Well, what we did provide support for is those GE mathematics course, like your Math 75, which is your calculus course, your Math 45, which is math, right, on our campus. And those are our GE courses. And what we found, again, although this data really does shows the overall for all courses combined together, very, very true and same as for those courses as well. So I believe with math semester, was it Math 45, they earned a whole letter grade or even higher for those student participation of 16 or more visits. In terms of the executive orders, our university is moving in a different direction on that in terms of what is it that they want to implement. But we are still continuing to provide support on the other course or the other sections that they're not implementing their model, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay, so I have one more sort of question before I kick it back over to Brett, and then there is one question that you might maybe want to take offline with one of our participants. So someone asks about tips for recruiting SI leaders, especially on campus where students are pulled in lots of different directions and have different opportunities. Do you have any tips for that?
Oh, that is definitely a big one. I think across all institutions, recruiting, it's always ongoing, right? So I think that maximize your platform. So reach out to different departments, send it out to their admin to send out to the students there using online platforms. So if you're on social media, if your program is on social media, using Facebook, Instagram, even creating your own flyers, recruitment flyers, and sending it out to, through different listservs will definitely help. We have the flexibility here at Fresno State to pull grades from students who have passed the class with a B grade or better. Then we do outreach to those students as well. So I'm very fortunate. Among our SI team, our SI specialist, and of course our academic support specialist, Tony and Nancy, do a great job with assisting with recruitment. So maximizing all your platforms, even gauging your SI leaders, maybe especially the ones that are graduating, your stellar SI leaders who are leaving, asking them, okay, can you recommend at least 2 students, whether it's current or previous, who have done very well and who can fruitfully take on the role of a leader. So my advice is to definitely maximize and work collaboratively with academic affairs and making sure that you're connecting with your liaisons across campus when it comes to recruiting.
And don't forget about your faculty. I mean, their support is the most important thing when it comes to really making sure that SI is effective and getting that buy-in. So ask your faculty members for recommendations. Whoever that's coming on board as the SI leader would have to work collaboratively with the faculty member in order to do well, perform well in that class. So we always ask for faculty recommendations, and we always say, don't give us just 1 or 2, give us a list of at least 5 or more students. So if a person doesn't work out, we can work with the other as well too.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. And if we could show our appreciation in the chat, that would be wonderful. Just one quick thing for our Fresno presenters. There have been a couple questions about budget allocations, student versus academic affairs, those sort of pieces. And I thought that might be easier for you all to follow up in email afterwards, where you could send somebody a snip of a spreadsheet or something like that. That would be more helpful than trying to orally crunch through some numbers. As soon as the chat's died down from all the praise that everyone's giving you, I'm going to relink to your Fresno State supplemental instruction page. And with that, I'm going to kick it back over to Brett.
Great. Thanks so much, Mike Koo and Co. for your wonderful presentation and your responses. Thanks, Zach, for doing a great job of facilitating those. Keep things coming into the chat ongoing. And I know that there were some things probably that we can cover more related to improving attendance. I think part of that is creating that SI culture on your campus, and that might be a good segue to our Fullerton presenters today. Before that, I'll do a little bit of a reveal number 2 for the day related to SI data. So we've been working behind the scenes with our data dashboard folks at the Chancellor's office to try and get SI data specifically into the student success dashboard. And this is just a snapshot of what's been taking place. We've been working with Fullerton and taking their data. We've got Fresno sample data, and we're able to now not yet give public access to everybody, but we're working on making this available to everyone in the near future. And we'll be pulling in other campus data sets. So you'd be able to go in here and look at course passing rate, such as this snapshot, mean final grade, and be able to apply different filters across campuses, URM status, et cetera. So we hope to be able to show more data openly within campuses and across campuses. And then also this is an opportunity for awareness for people that may come to this dashboard and want to find out more about how this happens. They can go through the SI website or contact their coordinator at their campus or contact us to make those connections. So that's just another reveal coming soon with our SI data dashboard.